Welcome back. The Chinese regime has claimed new sovereign rights in the South China Sea. One of the two new claims is less than 50 miles from the Philippines province of Palawan, more than 500 miles from China's nearest coastline. The Philippine government has dismissed the claims. The Associated Press reported Energy Undersecretary Jose Layu Jr. said on Monday the Chinese regime is disputing Philippines' proposal to embark on oil and gas exploration in the region. The regime urges the Philippines to revoke its invitation to foreign companies submitting tenders for the right to explore in the region. The Associated Press cited the regime demanding Philippines to, quote, refrain from any action that infringes on China's sovereignty and sovereign rights. The South China Sea is believed to have large oil and gas reserves. Besides China, Taiwan, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, and Brunei all stake claims on sections of the sea. China stakes the largest claim. The Philippines plans to turn to the United Nations for a peaceful resolution. On Monday, Pakistan and China staged joint military exercises displaying their improving relations. It comes after U.S. relationships with Pakistan have worsened since U.S. forces killed Osama bin Laden in Pakistan last May. Pakistan Army statements say that, quote, the Pakistan-China friendship is higher than the mountains and deeper than oceans. Some Pakistani officials have remarked that China could take over the economic, military, and diplomatic interests the U.S. now holds in the country. This is the fourth military exercise the two have staged together since 2004.
Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Wednesday, November 16th, 2011, and I'm Darko. My website is ggnonline.com, that's ggnonline.com, and ddarko2012 is my YouTube channel, that's ddarko2012. There's a new poll up there, you can go check it out to see who the next president will be. Okay, so we left off this with this article right here, a spooky article actually, private citizens getting help in the fight against terrorism. So in the face of anti-terrorism in Colorado includes a former Washington lobbyist, ex-Marine, and from Lakewood, whose wife gives him the evil eye when he's sizing up potential threats at the Denver International Airport, and a native New Yorker who refuses to ride on a subway and spends as little time as possible in high-rise buildings. So it goes in here. And it says that that's why, in their efforts to thwart terrorist threats, national entities such as the Department of Homeland Security, as well as local law enforcement officials and companies concerned with public safety, are reaching out to one another, seemingly unlikely source. You. That's right, from campaigners or campaigns such as we all know, Homeland Security's If You See Something, Say Something, basically snooping program. It basically goes back to either you can pick one, Nazi Germany or Communist Russia, or even here in the United States they had similar programs too to snoop out each other, dissenters and that. So it says here, recognizing the 8 signs of terrorism, and that was produced in Denver by Counterterrorism Education Learning Lab, or CEL. Ooh, almost like a terrorist cell, right? It says, unfortunately, there are people in the world who want to do us harm. Now, either it's actually the government that's going to do you harm. They're going to attack their own people and call it a terrorist attack. And then, then they can just go ahead and start all these wars. And this is the irony of it, is that they do that, and then they start these wars, and then it creates more terrorism, right? It actually creates real terrorism, not just government-sponsored terrorism. It radicalizes Muslims, and not just Muslims, but people in other countries that are getting effed with, right? So suspicious activity, when we go down here, it says what? In the olden days, say 10, 15 years ago, citizens rarely felt any sort of policing responsibilities. Well, that's because they felt like they were living in the United States and not the USSR. But this is how it is, and this is what the point of the war on terror and the war on drugs was supposed to do, is to militarize your police. Then you had Homeland Security, which came in after the government attacked their own people, 9/11 and that, and then came all of the war on terror apparatuses, such as on come the Homeland Security. In England, they have home security or whatever they call it. It's the same type thing, and they make it seem like it's for terrorists abroad, Muslims, No, it's for you. It's for people that look like you in your domestic country. It's for you. And if it has nothing to do with terrorism, because the thing is like, if you don't like what the terrorists are doing, i.e. the government, well then you yourself are called a terrorist. The only problem is that if you try to do something, well then, you know, you're a criminal, doing criminal activity, like trying to buy fertilizer or something, or you're going to the the Army Navy surplus and you're getting waterproof matches, well, and you pay cash with it, well, they got to report that to the FBI now. You didn't know that, did you? Well, that's what they're doing now. But see, the real terrorists, the government, they can go ahead and do whatever they want with no accountability, no responsibility for their actions. They can abduct you off the streets, never to be seen again, start at oxygen, have electrodes attached to your testicles, and basically torture you and traumatize you until you admit to doing something that you didn't do. And that's actually what the war on terrorism is all about. It's about raising people like the Christmas Day bomber, the Christmas tree bomber, two separate incidences, and funding these young individuals that live in the United States that maybe are not, they're only like first generation. And what do? Well, they fund them, and they say, yeah, you want to go, let's go blow up the State Department. And they try to sell them some bunk weapons, and then they bust them and say, oh, see, we foiled a terrorist plot. So that's what all of this apparatus is set up for you. And they do those little sideshow charades like the Christmas Day bomber and underwear bomber to keep the funding going. So I think I pretty much said my piece there. I'm going to keep moving because I still have a lot to get to. Boy 11 reports mom to police for marijuana use. And says here, 11-year-old Minnesota boy who says he was fed up with his mom and stepfather filling their home with marijuana smoke, took photos of the drugs and sent them to police, leading to her arrest. Okay, so you can say what you want to say about this, but it's crazy because he said he finally took the matter to his biological father, who told him to take pictures of the marijuana. The father then forwarded the photos to authorities. So see, we're just talking about snooping, right? So this is the perfect example of it, right? In the last video, I titled it what? It's your body, it's your decision. So look at this. It says here that Heidi, this woman, tells the TV news, whatever, that her husband smokes marijuana. The one that ratted her out actually smokes marijuana for medicinal purposes. So go figure, huh? And then, and the whole reason is probably what? Because this guy wants to get his son back, not because he loves him, but because he wants to get the money, the child support. And so the whole thing is what? Is that, what if this woman was cracking open a bottle of wine? I smell wine in the air. Maybe I should call the cops. I'm going to take a picture of that and send it to the police. Because no, see, you don't have you're not, see, the thing is that you're smoking something that the government also has their hands in, not just terrorism, but dealing drugs. See, they're in the drug business. Most of the drugs that come in, the cocaine, the heroin, they have the Marines guarding poppy fields in Afghanistan. Only designated drugs that come in the United States are allowed to come in. They just get a green light, and go. And then the CIA divvies it up to little dealers in the ghetto and all that. And that's what they do. And it's a big business. So there you go. Here we go. Lying on the internet could soon be a federal crime. Moving down here, waiting on my computer. Okay, violating the terms of service on any website could soon become a federal crime if the U.S. Department of Justice gets its way. Man, is this glitchy today. The U.S. Department of Justice wants to make it a federal crime to violate the terms of service of any website, reports CNET, according to the interpretation breaching the terms of service of websites, which can be done by simply using a fake name on Facebook, lying about your weight on a dating site, or Google, if you're under 18, could make you a criminal. And there's already laws being legislated and codes being enforced now to where blogs and websites can just be shut down for no reason. I mean, if your website or blog is shut down, I mean, you really shouldn't be that surprised. I mean, there's so many reasons that they can come up with hate speech and whatnot. It says here, anti-hacking law criminalizes most computer users. Former prosecutor says the nation's premier anti-hacking law poses a threat to civil liberties of millions of Americans who use computers and the internet, could lead to arrest and prosecution of many users who violate the law on a regular basis, says a former federal prosecutor who wants the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act revived. CCTV taxi plan, a staggering invasion of privacy. And it says here, plans to fit all taxis operating in the city of Oxford with audio recording devices, wow, have been branded a staggering invasion of privacy. Well, yeah, prompting calls for the Information Commissioner's Office to investigate how widespread the use of microphones on public transport has become. Now, this is the thing. Most things probably already have bugs and wires in them. You go in there to a gun store, those counters are wired. God only knows how many wires there are when you go out in public. Okay, Lancaster spy plan okayed. So Lancaster will soon be filming its citizens from above as a camera-equipped plane circles over the city under a controversial plan to track potential criminal activity. Now, the thing is, of course, what? You're all criminals. You're all potential criminals, so they have the right to do it. That's why you have no right, have right to defend yourself against an invasion of privacy. Mother effer. I got to put an ad block plus eventually here. I had it up 10 times, but due to having my computer crash and all different operating systems I've had to deal with, I'll have to put it up for the 100th millionth time again. So it says here, a standoff stalwart, Washington County will deploy a new Bearcat $230,000 armored vehicle that would be used in the most dangerous stations officers face. So goes in there and talking about almost $250,000 for the U.S. Department. Oh, our buddy, Homeland Security. So SWAT team truck, the Bearcat, battering ram, gun ports, hatch, bullet-resistant windows, tear gas dispenser, and public address system, i.e. slaves. Do not resist. Resistance is futile. Google's secret lab has a CIA-like security, which is interesting because the CIA actually helped fund them with their little front corporation. It says here, Supreme Court Justice Breyer warns of Orwellian government. And it says here, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean that there's someone not out to get you. So go in there and check that out. That's right, Supreme Court Justice saying that Oklahoma woman battles against the real ID. And she refused to renew her driver's license. That's a big deal because, when you go in there, you're getting what? You'll get a retinal scan. They want you to open your eyes. Even if your eyes are open, you must open them fully so they can get a retinal scan. So she chose to not renew her license in protest of a new federal ID requirements under the Real ID Act, which outlines more stringent standards. So pardon my French, but this is pretty fucked up, guys, because I have to face this next year. I got to face this next year when I go into the Department of Motor Vehicles, the DMV or whatever, and this is going to be for what? Biometric identification. So if I don't submit and I don't get a biometric facial scan, an iris scan, a biometric thumb scan, then I can't travel. The federal government is hindering my ability to travel freely. That is a constitutional right, and it's just like they're saying no. All in the name of what? Terrorism, the government, the terrorists. No, you're the terrorist. St. Louis officers to file suit over department's DNA collection. So the cops don't like when their DNA is taken. School kids' best vest road test. That's right. So don't let them think for themselves and walk to school and be cognizant and aware. No, let them keep their eyes on their iPod or keep their iPod on and keep their BlackBerry smartphone, their heads turned down to that, not paying attention to the real world around them, and then play their video games and whatnot, and go to school and then be taught by a computer. So don't let them think at all. Let's just put big fluorescent vests on them like they're a bunch of zombies. It says here, New York office of People's Daily Online is hiring in the United States. That's right, state-owned Chinese broadcaster to open U.S. studio. That's because they're getting ready to move in the troops and take over, right? It says here, the mysterious symbols in China are actually the Chinese calibrating their satellites. So what are they getting ready for, guys? Next up. Then we have China using WA satellite station to track the Navy. That's in Australia. So again, they're getting ready. Next up, we have U.S. Marines to be stationed in Australia under Obama-Gillard Defense Pact. He's sending a clear message, he says. Then next up, we have how will China respond to the new U.S. military presence in Australia? Well, China is against the U.S. troops in Australia. Australians are divided over more U.S. troops down under. So Julia Gillard and Barack Obama were pretty much getting it on, met with a kiss. Says here they were a touchy pair, and it goes down here, waiting on my computer, and then look at that, a little touching, a little groping. So Clinton says the 21st century will be U.S. Pacific century, talking about how it's going to be like Iraq. So Filipinos propelled Clinton car with paintballs. Then next up we have ISS, Syria's opposition is armed. It says here placard-waving protesters are actually machine gun-wielding terrorists. Armed groups attack Syria military base. Terrorist attacks 115 Syrian Shias. Then Saudi Arabia recalls ambassador to Syria. So does France. So does U.S. But Egypt will not. Turkey recalls ambassador from Washington. Explosions and assassinations at Iraq nuke base pinned to Israel may have been CIA. Israel launches a new missile that can reach New York and Tokyo. One injured in Israeli Gaza airstrike. Israel to back Kenya offensive, and so is the U.S. This is GGN.